Today's Wednesday, March 19th, 2014, and you're tuned in to the Elevator Radio Show. The Elevator Radio Show is a proud supporter of the Elevator Escalator Safety Foundation. To find out how you can make a difference, visit their website today at www.eesf.org. Hey, we got a good show for you today, so stay tuned. Here it comes.
You're tuned in to the Elevator Radio Show, a weekly program dedicated to covering news and information on elevators, escalators, and moving walkways. Produced in the wee hours of the morning, a new show is uploaded every Wednesday, sometimes even before you get out of bed. Listen to some of the comments sent in from our audience.
Rob from New York writes, Tom, are you f***ing insane? You actually get up at 2 a.m. each Wednesday to put this show out? Man, you must love elevators. Tim from Illinois writes, I'm not sure why I listened, but ever since I tuned into the first show back in 2007, I've been addicted. Matt in Texas writes, I like your safety messages, Tom. It's important to remember them each and every day. And he also adds,
when am I going to win the monthly prize pack giveaway?
Ron from California sent this in. Despite your inability to pronounce words in the English language, I tune in each week and am glad that you offer this service to the industry. It's better than Google News alerts. Sarah from Washington writes, love the show, Tom, and look forward to it each week. I'm glad I signed up for the newsletter. You provide a valuable resource for the industry, not only for North America, but worldwide.
Enjoy the show. And now, here's your sleep-deprived host, Tom Seibert.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yes, it is good to be here. And my name is Tom Seibert. If you're listening for the very first time, which I'm sure many of you are not, but those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, this is the Elevator Radio Show podcast, which is a weekly audio program where I scour the internet for all sorts of news and articles that relate to elevators, escalators, lifts, moving walkways, whatever it has to do with elevators. I link it to this program. Now, many of you out there already are doing the Google News alerts, which I do as well, but I also do quite a few other RSS feeds where I pull in other information, which I hope is helpful in terms of what you find online. And this show was created back in 2005, and before Google News alerts were actually out there, which is amazing. So it just goes to show you that I don't know. The way that news is being filtered definitely has changed from that time, which is good. I mean, obviously we're in a world that is much more in touch and connected than we ever were before. I don't know if that's good or not, but it is what it is, and I guess it's good on some levels and bad on others. But anyway, so that's what we do here every Wednesday morning, get up at the crack of dawn. Actually, earlier than the crack of dawn, for that matter. It's crack of dawn somewhere, probably somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. But anyway, get up every Wednesday morning. I scour the internet for articles, throw them into a show, comment on them, and then basically start my day and go from there. So remember that my commentary is my commentary. It does not express the views, opinions, or whatever of whomever you might think I might be representing. How about that? Anyway, so that's about it. All the good stuff is out of the way. It is good to be here this Wednesday morning. Almost didn't do the show. My wife, Tiffany, is sick, unfortunately. She has got like the worst cold. Last night, I was able to sleep. The night before, I left the bed in search of the couch, and that was a much better sleep than I would have gotten had I stayed in bed with her. But obviously, you hate to see your family members sick, and I've been trying to do everything possible not to catch whatever she's got. I want to say it's the plague. It's got to be the plague because I've never seen her so sick before. Oh, something's done over there. Than I have the last few days. So, yeah, and I'm not a germaphobe by any means, but I've got a bike race coming up on Saturday. So, like, the last thing I need is to be sick for that. So, almost didn't do the show today. I'm glad I did because next week is spring break. So, spring break means that there'll be no show. Family and I are headed down to warmer temperatures down in Florida to see Grandma and Grandpa. We haven't seen them in a long time. It's going to be nice to see them and miss them. And so they're going to be leaving on Friday. I'm going to join them early next week as I've got some work to do here on Monday. So that's about it. Those of you traveling for spring break, be safe out there. And, so that's about it for the comments, or my comments, I guess, for that matter. And weather has changed a bit, which is nice. The snow is almost melted, people. Can't believe that last Wednesday it actually snowed. This Wednesday it's actually raining, so I'll take that any day. And it just goes to show that we are moving in the right direction. I thought there'd be a day I'd never see the grass again, but that day has come as of yesterday, so I welcome it. So we'll see if we can't continue on that trajectory path towards spring, and hopefully it'll be here sooner than later. I apologize. I cannot access my emails. When I plugged my phone in this morning, it's doing the iOS 7 update, blah, blah, blah. Long and short of it is I could not get into my emails through Gmail, mainly because I needed to get the verification code that Google is asking me for, which is maybe there now. But anyway, no emails today. I will get into them on the next show, which will be in 2 weeks, that first week in April, and we'll also give away the prize pack giveaway at that time. So anyway, without further ado, excuse me, we'll get into the news. Excuse me again. That was not a sneeze. That was a cough. It sounded like a sneeze. But we'll do that during the next show. And as always, send your email comments to elevatorradioshow@gmail.com. And I promise to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. So up next, we'll get right into the news and have you out of here lickety-split.
Let this week's news stories give you a lift on what's happening in the vertical transportation arena. Each news segment is organically dug and fresh with news stories of the week. Got lift? If not, stay tuned.
All right, so news for this week. If you're looking at the video right now, oh my goodness, what happened here? Oh, I love it when the leprechauns have been working on the computer, and I've got to change. I do not know why. Oh, that's the monitor. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me. Somehow it's become ginormous, the screen, if you're watching it. So let me do full screen here. There we go. Much, much better. All right, first news article of the show. Hill climber death prompts new legislation in Maryland. I think this is always good. Although, having been involved with trying to retrofit these type of devices or make them code compliant, it's not easy to do it all. But the Sun in Baltimore reporting that Earl Man's death prompts regulation of cliffside elevators. I was under the impression that these lifts were already required to comply with certain codes, depending on whether or not they were grandfathered or not. And obviously that would depend on where these lifts are actually located and what the AHJs decide should be considered as such. So anyway, the legislation calls the devices cliffside elevators, but they're also known as trolleys, trams, or lifts. They're common sight in waterfront communities where there are steep banks where basically people access going up and down the elevator. And the hillside to the lake. But anyway, this Jock Menzies Act would regulate those elevators in the same way as commercial lifts, requiring registration with the state's Commissioner of Labor and Industry and inspection every 2 years by a private inspector. Homeowners could pay up to $1,000 per inspection. I agree these should be safe. I am not sure how many elevators these have actually, how many accidents have been related to these. But the reality is that if I know from personal experience they're very difficult to bring up to code in terms of retrofitting or existing elevators, and I'm not sure how A17.3 would kind of tie into this safety bill. But most importantly, the importance that I'd like to just bring attention to is the importance of making sure elevator lift codes and safety acts are as current as they possibly can be in states across the United States. So, good article. I think definitely worthy of clipping and sharing with other people. Next article actually talks as a letter to the editor regarding that same article, and it's basically a letter to the editor, which basically talks about unfortunately a single life was lost in Maryland due to the failure of residential cliffside elevator, but does not justify a state-mandated inspection of all such devices that cost approximately $1,000 each. It's one of those deals where there needs to be some practicality when we talk about these. I'm not sure exactly what occurred with this death or fatality. Perhaps these lifts need to fall under residential devices, I don't know, and certified as a complete assembly. Obviously, any new installer is not going to want these lifts to fail. And again, I don't know the whole history behind the death, but it's more than just Big Brother coming in and ensuring that lifts are safe, because I think one lift is enough. Obviously, I don't think it's a huge issue, but and again, I've seen elevator companies and residential or hill climber type owners, lift owners, really struggle with trying to get these things to comply with code, because a lot of them are really old and just don't. Okay, as a reminder, Elevator World photo contest. The expiration time date function for this is actually going to be April 30th. So last year they received more than 200 submissions from 10 countries. So if you'd like to enter, get your photos over to Elevator World, and there's some information in the link. There are prizes to be won: $250 cash prize, or the equivalent in Elevator World educational products or advertising. Winning photos will be considered for the August 2014 Elevator World magazine cover, depending on quality and composition of the photo. And to enter, all the details are in there. So amazing to imagine the day that they did this. They used to do this where you couldn't email photos, and they just would get all these submissions in. So come a long way, baby. But yeah, definitely get your submissions in. If you got a cool elevator you'd like to share with Elevator World and for consideration, check it out. Okay, Elevator U conference registration is open, so get over and sign up. Hotel information is in there, $99 a night. You got to mention Elevator U. Space is limited. All the details are there within the elevatoru.org website. So mark your calendars, make your plans, and if you're interested in submitting a paper for a presentation or for the conference, please get that in as soon as you possibly can, because we've got quite a few in. Actually, I was surprised, and we'd love to hear from you. So the application to that is actually down below the main blog post there that we've got linked up in the show notes, or over at elevatoru.org. Here's a funny sign that Brad posted over at Elevator World Unplugged. Hilarious. It says, "Please take the elevator. There's a raccoon inside the stairway." I guess my comment to that is, it better than a bear or a mountain lion, right? Oh yeah, that's hilarious. You don't see that every day. Anyway, yeah, signs everywhere. Signs, very funny. History of escalators, elkodaily.com, which is a news article from elkodailyfreepress.com, which is, I said that before, I want to say it's a news blog thing or whatever from, where's this place at? I don't know where this is at. It's crazy. As many websites as I see, sometimes the obvious information cannot be found anywhere. Anyway, it's an interesting article talking about the invention of the escalator by Jesse W. Reno in 1892, which was some pretty interesting information I did not know. Something you might want to share with your friends and colleagues and enemies, whatever. But apparently, the young Reno, one of 5 children of a Civil War hero, who just, for the record, our biggest little city is named after, patented his moving stairs, or incline elevators, as he called it. So, yeah, quite interesting. I'm telling you, we had a country filled with entrepreneurs and inventors at one time. We probably still do to some extent, but whether or not money can still be made from some of those inventions, other than those that, patent attorneys and all that out there, remains to be seen. Anyway, but still kind of a cool article, and in case you didn't know, it's neat to share. Okay, an escalator starts a fire in a Azerbaijan's capital. All right, I know I didn't do that justice. Anyway, it was started in a 4-story Moscow department store, and engulfed the escalator, which is a little frightening there. So they seemed to think it was an electrical malfunction. Okay, the Chicago Cruise registration is open. They are fast receiving sponsorships, which is great. Thanks to everybody who has offered a sponsor. There's a new venue. It's a new cruise ship. It is a new menu, so it should be much, much better. There is a early bird reservation fee that you can save some money if you get signed up right away. So buy your tickets today, and let's sell this boat out, people. Let's have a great time as well. It's going to be June 4th. I'm really excited to be a part of that, and it's going to be a lot of fun and a nice change of pace this year, for sure. Okay, here's a cool rope gripper video that John Fellon has posted. I'm going to shut that off real quick. I'm not going to watch it because it's going to play some music that's way too loud for my mixing board. But kind of cool. John's got a few videos that he's got posted over on his YouTube page, which I think are pretty slick. So check them out. Just as a reminder, if you are not an elevator technician or mechanic, you should not be in or trained person to be in a machine room space or elevator. Do not do so. It will kill you or could cause you serious harm or death, as mentioned prior. So anyway, okay, Hotel Roanoke elevator tour. Andrew at Diesel Doozy's got a new cool video on the elevators over at the Hotel Roanoke, which is pretty slick. I just wish they would have done some more historic, some historic elevator fixtures for that. But what are you going to do? Still need to see these old elevators working. It seems like I've seen many more elevators in TV shows lately, which I think is pretty slick. Something you don't see very often. So I'm like, wow, there's another freight elevator, another freight elevator, another freight elevator. So I don't know. There's something about freight elevators on TV that are cool. I mean, passenger elevators everybody sees, but those freight cars, I'm telling you, those are like the bomb. Also, John's got a video on Elevator Mod Rip-Out Part 8, and then also the final video of that. I'll encourage everybody to check on their own. Again, I'm not going to play that because it's going to start a video ad on that. So, okay, globalnews.com. Husband of wife killed on Montreal escalator calls for answers. You know what? I'm going to see if this video plays, and if it does, see if it plays in English or if it's going to play in French. It's one of those deals. If you read the article, it kind of is, venting about the number of escalator inspectors in Montreal compared to Quebec, which I don't think is a necessary indication of safety to some extent. And pointing fingers at, escalator code compliancy and whether or not. Here we go, we'll play it.
Snow falls on a lonely figure outside the Fabre Metro, a widower visiting the makeshift memorial for his wife. It seems very strange that something like this could happen on an escalator. There are things that have to be checked. Naima Rurudi apparently choked when her scarf was caught in the rolling stairs Thursday, but the truth about what led to this accident may never come to light. There are no fixed rules in Quebec concerning escalator inspection. It's essentially done whenever a company or agency gets around to it.
The company is responsible to ensure that it's up to the present-day standards by code.
Brent McMillan says in Ontario an inspection is required to occur once annually, but in Quebec there are no rules outlining the frequency of inspection, so an escalator can go uninspected for years.
There's nobody from the authority that comes to ensure that it is up to those standards before it's released to the public.
And Quebec only has 16 inspectors, but the SDM insists it has adequate protocols.
I don't think our norms are any different than anybody else's. And I'm not qualified to actually talk on this. There's an investigation at the moment.
It appears Rurudi's accident may not have been the first. Global News has heard from other women who say their clothing got caught in escalators, including Joyce Ostroff, who says she nearly lost her life when her coat became stuck last December.
There should be frequent inspections. There are a lot of different safety devices that can be used. When, again, there should be an emergency stop button everywhere along the side of the elevator.
Users say the emergency buttons aren't easy to find or to use for someone trapped in the stairs.
Did you hear that?
If there was an emergency button next to it and you didn't know it, what good would it do if you were, being strapped?
Aren't easy to find.
Let's just play this
everywhere along the side of the elevator. There should be frequent inspections. There are a lot of different safety devices that can be used. When, again, there should be an emergency stop button everywhere along the side of the elevator.
What? You're an attorney commenting on this and you're calling it an elevator? There should be emergency buttons along the side of and there should be. As long as they're code compliant. If you look at the video, this one looks.
Users say the emergency buttons aren't easy to find or to use for someone trapped in the stairs.
How would you, if there was an emergency button next to it and you didn't know it, what good would it do if you were, being strangled and you didn't know about it?
There's more. As long as an old escalator is up to code at the time it was built, there are no requirements in Quebec to upgrade it to the current standard. That has some worried that other deaths could occur.
It could have happened many ways, and The unfortunate part is it could happen again.
Now a single dad, her husband just wants to know how this happened. I have to get to the end to know the truth. Billy Shields, Global News, Montreal.
You know what? This is a terrible tragedy. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But the reality is that this woman had a long scarf on, and even the other articles talking about the story of getting coats caught. And, you know, it's a moving piece of equipment. The reality is I was taught at a very young age to make sure your shoes were tied and that nothing loose was falling off your body. This article, accident is terrible. The article really does not go into addressing anything that could have actually necessarily prevented it. It's not talking about mechanical failure. It's not talking about, I just wish articles like this would actually go in a greater depth about, the proper use, proper riding practices of elevators and escalators and escalators in this case. But I don't know. It's a little frustrating to read this, and obviously, vertical transportation conveyance equipment should be inspected much more regularly. Not all escalators or elevators can be brought up to the recent code or the latest code. But again, it'd be interesting if they post anything more on this article in terms of what the investigation finds. I suspect it'll probably be, go through litigation before anything like that happens. But I feel for the husband and anybody who has been involved in an accident like this, a tragedy. But let's talk, from a news perspective or an investigative perspective. Let's look at perhaps really what happened here with loose clothing. I mean, I don't know enough about escalators or even the case to know exactly how, what actually occurred or why the escalator didn't stop or if there were devices there that would prevent a scarf from being brought in. I don't know, but it's a big piece of machinery. I mean, it's a little frustrating to read that, but obviously our thoughts go out to the family. And the husband of the woman who was killed. So anyway, okay. Next news article: TreeHugger.com has an article talking about an elevator for bicycles and peoples in Pamplona. That should have been easier to say. Beautiful elevator. Check it out. It's an architectural masterpiece, and it's in Spain. Very neat. It's amazing how much money was spent on this to basically help people and those on bicycles get down. Down an elevator. The Biola University Chimes news organization or website has an article talking about Emerson Hall. They're getting some upgrades for air conditioning and also modernization of an elevator, which is always cool to see. So nice to see improvements being made. Next article, elevator music article, is actually a blog post from nextcity.org, the most provocative elevator music you've ever heard. This is pretty cool. A nice article, as many of us understand or know or remember what elevator music used to be. There's a blog post that Matt wrote about elevator music in a ongoing online exhibition called Really Good Elevator Music. And if you click on the link there, you can actually listen to some of the real good elevator music, which I'm not sure if it is necessarily the case. Here's Inter Muzak by Stephen Parker. It sounds like something you'd hear in MASH. Oh, yeah. Here's one from Stephen Dufala. Okay, so imagine yourself riding an elevator, pressing the button. Here's a real bad December music by Alex Lewis.
We've had weather like this in December before, but this is most unusual.
It's been very gray.
Kind of cloudy and it's kind of dark.
Yeah, it's supposed to be cold.
It makes you don't want to work.
It's kind of neat if you had a perspective like that. The Real Good Elevator Music playlist is playing on repeat in the Wolf Building. Elevators and other locations in the Philadelphia neighborhood of Chinatown North. To participate in the experiment yourself, play these tracks on loop on your computer, phone, or speakers, wherever you are, and tell us what happens. I think it might put people to sleep, maybe. Here's a graduation song by Kyle Pulley. Okay, that's taking way too long. And I'm Just Gonna Move On by Jeff Ziegler. That's kind of cool. Yeah, that's kind of neat. I like that one. Nice and soothing. I can see laying in bed and just relaxing to that one. But anyway, if you want to loop this on your computer and let them know what happened, go ahead and do so. Okay, here's a interesting, not really a blog post. This is the blotter from TommyMedia.com or Tommy, or I'm not sure. Anyway, public safety briefs. These are always quite interesting. Let's see here. On March... I've never seen one of these before. Let me see here. I'm going to highlight it. Okay, here we go. March 7, 2014 at 10:40 p.m. Public Safety, St. Paul Fire and Police Departments responded to suspicious activity in Bradley Residence Hall. An object in the Bradley elevator causing irritation to persons attempting to use the elevator was determined to be a snowball soaked with mace. Okay. Our college students, they got so much extra time on their hands. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Anyway, another accident involving an elevator in Russia. Apparently, last Friday, an elevator at a Nizhny Tagil hospital plummeted 6th floor, injuring 2 nurses. So, as if Russia didn't have enough to worry about, now they have to worry about elevators to some extent. So, state labor inspectors are checking out what's going on. The cause of the accident was a flagrant violation of the rules and instructions of a lifter manual elevator. What in the heck is that? That translation doesn't sound right. A significant lift capacity. So they had 2 people in there and they had too much stuff on it? Is that what happened? Anyway, I don't know. I think we're losing something here in the translation. But next article, downed escalator hurts businesses, which may or may not be the case. News.com.au in Australia. Faulty escalators hurting station arcade businesses with trade down as much as 50%. This is not always that easy to measure, you know what I mean? But apparently, and I hate when you hear this kind of thing because it's may or may not be true. But apparently traders say that their turnover has divvied by 30 to 50% because train users are taking the stairs straight onto the bank street and not coming back into the arcade. Oh, I guess that would make sense. Yeah. Anyway, and that's too bad. So as many of you know, escalators can be expensive, not only expensive to fix or maintain, but also lengthy in time to definitely get repaired. And the last news article of this week's program, show number what show is this? 361 or 261? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. For March 19th is Gary Crosby passed away, age of 71, which in my opinion is way too young. But he passed away. He was in the elevator industry, quite a astonished career in just in general, and kind of neat to read his accomplishments. He was a member of the local. Oh shoot! I just had it here. He passed away March 2nd, Local 19 member. So if you keep him and his family in your thoughts, prayers, I'm sure it would be greatly appreciated. And that's going to do it for this week's show, everybody. I hope everybody had enjoyed the show and learned something new every day or learned something new in the program. If not, I apologize. Next week, no show. I'll see if I can get a blog post up just to kind of touch on some topic I might think is interesting. We'll see. If not, there'll just be no show. So, as always, be safe out there. Safety is number one. And make sure you get home each and every day to your family, friends, because that's the number one priority. And make sure the equipment you're working on, building, whatever, inspecting is safe for others to use. And without further ado, everybody have a great rest of the week. Think spring once again, and we will talk to everybody in 2 weeks. Have a great spring break if you're on it or if you're going on it. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.